Movies that everybody universally hates, except me. There's a lot of them. There's quite a few of them. And oftentimes when these movies come along, I don't get it. I'm sort of like, I come out of a movie theater, like, oh my God, that was really great. I'm so pumped. I can't wait. This is going to get like 4 sequels and it's going to be amazing. And I can't wait to like keep staying with this character forever and ever and ever. And then you go home and you look at the reviews and it's like, this is the worst movie ever made. And you just think, what happened? How did I see a different movie? Um, One of the examples of that is today's movie, which I have sort of teased for a long time, but we're finally going to talk about it. Green Lantern. You've all seen this before. This is my, let's just call it my extended cut collection. Superman the movie, the extended cut, which I've reviewed before, and Green Lantern, the extended cut. And Necessary Evil, very cool little documentary about villains in the DC universe. But today we're going to talk about The Green Lantern from 2011, starring Ryan Reynolds. A movie that was instantly considered one of the worst ever made, gets lumped in with Batman and Robin as a just a complete disaster of a film. One that has been lampooned many times over the years, often by Ryan Reynolds himself, most famously in Deadpool 2. Actually, both Deadpool movies, he makes fun of Green Lantern. Okay, first of all, it's not great, but I'm going to go ahead and say that it is as good as any of the bottom tier Marvel movies. You know, it's as good as Iron Man 2 or Thor the Dark World or Captain Marvel or Ant-Man and the Wasp. I would put it in that category, but I would put it better than Iron Man 2, actually. Plot, we all know the plot. The Green Lantern is Hal Jordan, ace test pilot, who is chosen to wield a ring of cosmic power by the Guardians of the Universe on Oa. And where the movie maybe goes wrong, and I would agree with this, is in the choice of having the villain be Parallax and Hector Hammond. Two of Green Lantern's sort of top tier nemesis, but they're not compelling, especially in the... I never thought they were particularly compelling in the comics. I'm a big Green Lantern fan. I like Green Lantern. I think Geoff Johns' run on Green Lantern is amazing and really got me into that character. And this draws a lot of inspiration from that. But where the movie doesn't maybe get it right is you get the training and you get all of the characters that would be there, like Kilowog. Sinestro is there, but where this movie should have been, like, I think of it as like, first of all, Sinestro should not have been the villain in this one. Sinestro should have been established, I think, as his partner, his mentor. You don't really get that in this. And I'm blanking on the actor's name, and I really like this actor, the guy who played Sinestro. Mark Strong. Mark Strong, that's the name of the actor who plays Sinestro. He's great as Sinestro. In fact, I couldn't imagine Sinestro in my head as a live-action character. I thought, this is going to look stupid. And then they mentioned this actor's name, and I went, oh, I see it. I instantly see it. I see exactly what this would look like, and it looks amazing. And it did. My Green Lantern movie, Sinestro is Hal Jordan's partner, and, you know, and he's a good guy all through part 1. Part 2 is his fall from grace. Part 3, he's the main villain. That's my Green Lantern trilogy. And part 3, you get into like the Sinestro Corps Wars, and that would have been great. They didn't do that. by the end of the first movie, he's got the yellow ring. And his interactions with Green Lantern are fairly minimal. For a lot of people, that's not their number one problem. Their number one problem, first of all, is Ryan Reynolds, who they felt was miscast. I would agree. For years, he was supposed to be Wally West. I think he had even been officially cast as Wally West for a Flash movie that just never happened. So he already had uh, that relationship with DC, and they decided he would be a great Green Lantern. He's not bad, it's not that, but he's a little too goofy for the character. A lot of people wanted Nathan Fillion, who is the go-to guy for what people want. Maybe not anymore, he's a little bit older, but they wanted him as Nathan Drake. And by the way, he continuously gets to prove himself. He starred as Nathan Drake in a little fan film, which he was great in. He did the voice of Green Lantern in a lot of stuff, and he was great in that, in a lot of animated stuff. Hal Jordan is a little bit more of a straight-edged hero, and Ryan Reynolds plays him as a goofball, and he's not. He got to redeem himself with Deadpool, but yeah, he's not the perfect choice for Hal Jordan. I think he looks like him a bit. And so Warner Brothers just thought, oh, who cares? You know, put him in the costume. And that is the other issue that a lot of people have, is the costume. It's all CG. The entire costume is CG. I don't have any problem with this, and I don't know why others do. He doesn't wear a uniform. He doesn't wear tights. You know, if you put him in like a Batman kind of armor, or, you know, even Christopher Reeve Superman tights, if you put him in that, it would have looked stupid, because here's the thing. The costume comes from the ring. That's where the costume comes from. And if so the costume had this glowing, it was constantly moving on him. It was alive because it was coming from the ring. Even the mask, yeah, does it look like it's painted on after the fact? Yes, because it is, by the ring. This I don't get. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. It just kind of actually pisses me off a little bit, because eventually we're going to get that Green Lantern. I guess HBO Max is getting a Green Lantern TV show. We're going to get it, and it's going to be him in puffy armor, and that's just not what I want to see. One thing that came out of the movie that I'm sure Ryan Reynolds is happy with is he met his future wife, Blake Lively, who plays his love interest in the movie. She's all right. She's not great. She kind of falls into the Kate Bosworth in Superman Returns category for me of, she doesn't look like she's having all that much fun. I don't think she knows how to be in one of these movies. Yeah. I mean, her eventually maybe becoming Star Sapphire could have been cool, but you probably needed somebody who had more of Ryan Reynolds' energy to her. And maybe they thought she would ground him. It doesn't work for me. A lot of people also complain about Parallax being a giant cloud. My big complaint about Parallax is, again, he's not a compelling villain. Two, he's voiced by Clancy Brown, and don't get me wrong, I love Clancy Brown, but Clancy Brown's voice is so instantly recognizable to me at this point, because of his work in animation, that it just sounds wrong. It's like, no, that's Mr. Krabs. That doesn't work for me. You know, I can't buy him as this cosmic entity. Him being a cloud, I didn't care about, because for the same reason I didn't care about Galactus being a cloud in the Fantastic Four. Maybe DC eventually will do Parallax, and the MCU will eventually do Galactus again, and they'll prove me wrong, but these characters to me don't translate to film. I'm imagining Galactus in that Fantastic Four movie. this big purple helmet, and and he's a giant. The Cloud, I get it's not perfect, but I get it. He's this force of nature that's moving through the cosmos. He's not necessarily a guy. So I understood it then with Galactus. I understand it with Parallax. I guess for me, it didn't bother me the way it bothered everybody else. The design wasn't great of Parallax, but like I said, the character was sort of weak overall. So, and wasn't, I mean, he's sort of the main villain, but he's not the focus. The focus is more on Hector Hammond, who I've never thought was a very interesting villain in the comic book either. Like I said, I'm not going to say this is a great movie. This is a 2.5. But would I say that it's... I came out of Iron Man 2 disappointed. I came out of Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel disappointed. I didn't walk out of Green Lantern disappointed. I walked out of Green Lantern thinking this is not perfect, but it is a good setup. And it could have retroactively become, like for me, Batman Begins did. Batman Begins, I walked out of and I went, it was fine, it was okay. But when I look at it as part one of the trilogy, I think, oh, Batman Begins is awesome. Batman Begins sets everything up so that the story can then really reach its heights in The Dark Knight. Dark Knight couldn't have been the first movie. You had to build to it. I think Green Lantern would have built to a great sequel. I think him as Sinestro as the main villain would have been great. I think it would have been like Wrath of Khan. That's what it would have been, maybe. People look at Star Trek the Motion Picture and they go, I don't know. But you kind of needed Star Trek the Motion Picture first before you get to Wrath of Khan. And consequently, Wrath of Khan can be deeper and richer because you had that first movie. So you appreciate the first movie more. And I think that's what would have happened in a Green Lantern sequel. But we're never going to get that. And we're going to get the reboot. I think we've probably seen the last of Hal Jordan. I think we'll get Jon Stewart as the live-action Green Lantern. I think everybody's sort of clamoring for him. I love Hal Jordan. I don't know. Jon Stewart I love because of the Justice League cartoon, mostly. I never got into him in the comic, but he was in the Justice League cartoon, which we will talk about. And he was tremendous in that. He was the perfect Green Lantern for that cartoon. They could have brought him into the DCEU. I would have been very happy with that. I always felt like the Justice League was missing Green Lantern. Green Lantern is, to me, an absolute core DC character, much more so than Cyborg. But when I think of the Justice League, I think of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, Martian Manhunter, and Green Lantern. That's my core Justice League. That would have been my perfect team. And I hope we get that movie someday. Probably not from the DCEU. It'll probably be 10, 20 years from now when that's all in the trash and forgotten and everything is being rebooted. I hope that the HBO Max show is good, but I don't have to wait for a Green Lantern live action thing that I enjoy. I already have it.
The worlds. Sort of gave myself the challenge of, okay,